All right, guys, this is Volt, and today we're going to run through my personal all time Star Wars Battlefront 2 greatest players list. Hey, I have no idea why I'm making this video. Maybe I'm just bored sitting here at home today. Maybe I just feel like stirring up some drama in the community because it feels like we've been lacking that lately. I don't know, but these players are all who I consider to be the best that I've ever played with and against. And I thought it'd be pretty cool to do a video format version of the top 10 list because usually we're just typing them out. So, with that being said, my list is based solely on overall skill. So, I'm ranking the best players who I believe I've played both with and against. And also, I'm taking accolades into consideration as well. So, things like your tournament history and things like that. So, for that reason, you're going to notice as I go through my list that there are not going to be any players that have not played competitively since 2020 on my list. And the reason for that is because prior to what I'll call the COVID era or the 2020 comeback of Star Wars Battlefront 2, it was just a totally different era. If we were talking about the players who played on PS2 before the GameSpy shut down, and I just don't think that those any of those players have. If we were to translate those skills directly over today's game, I just don't think they could compete. I'm not saying that they couldn't come back and train for a bit and get used to what the playing environment looks like now. Um, that might be a bit controversial to some people, but that's just what I personally believe. So, without further ado, let's actually get into this thing. All right, let's start off with some honorable mentions first. And my first one is going to be Small C. I don't think this is going to be a surprise to anybody. I love teaming with Small C. We won the first 3v3 tournament since the COVID revival together, along with Viking. And also, we did pretty well in the Force League as well until the LSJ incident. We're just not going to talk about that. um, but he's a super solid player. I would say one of the best players in terms of mechanics and ramping around. And he actually discovered a decent amount of ramps that I would say are mainstream these days. Another thing I would credit him with is the crouch push. I don't remember if it was him, myself, or Viking that initially discovered crouch push. But Small C definitely made it mainstream because he was the first one to actually really start using it in his gameplay and showed everyone how powerful of a mechanic that can be in a team setting. Honorable mention number two is going to be Trinity. And Trinity, actually, I'd put him in the same boat as Small C and I prior to the GameSpy shutdown, where all three of us felt like we were trying to prove ourselves. And we just didn't have enough time to really break through that elite group of players. And the revival of PC when COVID hit, it gave all of us the opportunity to do that. And Trinity was definitely successful. Just name off a couple of the things he's done uh, in the first and only Star Wars Force League. He was the part of the championship team of GNE, and he was also the finals MVP in their match against LSJ. Not only that, but he also did achieve second place in the most recent 3v3 tourney alongside K-Man and Huey. So definitely has proved himself as a good player in a tournament setting as well. And I would say, Trinity has a really good heroes and villains, but what he's really become known for is his Emperor. Since we modded the game and now the Emperor is relatively viable, he really took over that character more than anybody else has, and has proved that the Emperor can actually be a very viable pick in tournament setting, and he's definitely pretty tricky to play against when he's on that character. So honorable mention number three is going to be Fierce. And when we think of Fierce, we think of a player that was extremely dominant in the PS2 era and then also very dominant in the first year or so of the COVID era. The reason why he's not higher on this list is just because he only played in one tournament um, in the COVID era, and then it seemed like he kind of fizzled out. I don't know if that was due to his personal life being busy or if he just lost interest for the game. But he only played in one tournament, like I said, and he got second place in that tournament, which was a pretty stacked tournament. I would say you had teams like Ninja Naga, myself and Viking, Devil Wing and Huey. So getting second place in that tournament is definitely nothing to scoff at. But yeah, I mean, ever since he quit, he's come back and played a few times and just hasn't been able to hold up, I would say. Definitely a player that if he would come back and actually play consistently again, I'm sure he could get there. But like I said, for now, he's going to be in my honorable mentions. All right, my last honorable mention is going to be Lack, and Lack is just Lack. He's always going to be a solid player. He can not play for 2 years and come back and do a tournament and still do fine. Um, as long as you team him up with somebody that he can support, he's going to do fine because that's what he really excels at. So some of his achievements, if we're just talking about the modern days, he has plenty that go back to PS2 as well, but since COVID, he got second place in the Forest League alongside the rest of LSJ, and he's also gotten fourth place in the first 2v2 tournament, which fourth place, it sounds like it's not an amazing achievement, but if you consider how stacked that tournament was, um, and no one thought that him and A-Hole were going to make it as far as they did, but um, both of them played extremely well in that tournament, and is just another reason why I think that he should be included as an honorable mention. All right, now we can get into the actual list. And at number 10, I have a classic for you. It's going to be Master Isaac. And Master Isaac, kudos to him. He is the only man in Star Wars Battlefront 2 history to have met his wife through the game, which I don't know the chances of that, but I imagine they're pretty slim. But on a gameplay note, he is widely considered as one of the best support players of all time. He never does anything very flashy. He's never been considered a very fast player, but he is essentially like the ultimate safety net. Um, you can count on that if you're going to be going in and into a team fight or something, that he's going to be somewhere high and ready to save you at any given moment. Um, in terms of his accomplishments since 2020, again, he's another person that has many accomplishments going back years and years ago, but in 2020, he did get fifth place in the 2v2 tournament with Rabbit. Again, I would say that was a very stacked tournament. And with both of them just coming back to the game, I would say that's a pretty good placement. And then also, he got second place in the 2021 winter break tournament, 3v3 tournament alongside Rabbit and Viking. So yeah, he's definitely not a person that you can rely on to solo carry a game because that's just not the role that he likes to play. Um, if you can get him on a team where you already have someone that likes to run in and do stuff, he can really take your team to the next level, which is why I put him at number 10 on my list. All right, at number 9, I have K-Man. And I know we have just talked about two support players, but here's another great support in K-Man. Um, for lack of better words, he is a faster version of Master Isaac and Lack. I think that some of that might be due to just his overall play style and also that he played a lot of NF while all of us were basically retired. So he has a lot of that skill set as well, which is really helpful to have. I would say, comparing them to the other two support players, the reason why I put him above is because, like I said, he is faster. He's able to react a bit faster to situations. And I think he does have more solo carry potential if he really puts his mind to it than the other two. Although I think the support role is definitely the role that he prefers to take. In terms of accolades, he's got second place in the 2023 v 3 tournament, first place in the 2021 Winter Break tournament, and then second place in the most recent 2024 Obi-Wan one-day tournament. All very good placings in competitive tournaments. So definitely has the competitive history to back up him being number 9 on the list. At number 8, I have Kratos, another classic old school player, definitely deserving of this spot. Um, Another person that I feel like can come back at any point and still be pretty solid without much practice. He's one of those players that I can play against, and even if like he were to run under an alias, I feel like I could almost immediately tell who it is, just because he does have a very unique play style. both on heroes and villains. So it doesn't matter if he's playing a pusher or a choker. He has a very like uncanny play style that can really fuck with people's heads. Not only that, he is a really smart player. I feel like he can actually play multiple roles as well, where he can be a solid support player. So like if he's playing with someone like Manny, who is very aggressive, I feel like he can back him up pretty well. And then also he's perfectly capable of playing the carry role as well. So if he has a couple people around him that can support, obviously like Lack or Scars or someone like that, um, he can be very solid as just carrying the whole team as well. In terms of his accolades since 2020, he got first place in the SFL league, which is a really great achievement. That was a very competitive season overall. Um, Fifth place in 2021 in the 2v2 tournament, which doesn't sound great, but if you consider that he was teamed with a very rusty Scars at the time, and the teams he lost to were Ninja and Huey, and then Eunice and Manny, um, to get fifth place. So I feel like that's still a pretty good placement overall, considering those things. But yeah, Kratos, I mostly just put him up here because of his overall skill. He's always a very tough player to play against, and if he puts his mind to it, he can definitely be one of the best players at any given moment if he really wants to. At number 7, I have Manny, and I already know a lot of you are probably thinking, isn't number 7 pretty low for a player like Manny? And I think again, if you're thinking of the entire Star Wars Battlefront 2 history, number 7 can seem a bit low for a player like him. But again, I'm ranking players by overall skill, uh, across all eras. And I think number 7 is a really good spot for Manny. I think if he would have played more post COVID, and I also think that if he would have placed better in tournaments, I could justify putting him higher. But for now, I think this is a really good spot for him. So, with that being said, Manny, everybody knows him. He's an extremely mechanical player, um, super fast. He's one of those players that you get worried when you're lined up face to face with him because he can make your head spin and get you into a situation where you don't want to be in really, really fast. In terms of his team play, he definitely excels in the smaller match sizes. So 2v2s and 3v3s seem like his bread and butter. And I think a lot of that is because he's able to isolate players in those situations easier and turn it essentially into a 1v1. And then he just goes on and eliminates the next player, just because he's so quick. I think that the larger the match size gets and the more competent the other team is at mitigating him being able to do that, I think the worse he gets in team settings. Um, but yeah, he's definitely a really solid player to have on your team, especially if you have more of a support player to back his aggressiveness up. In terms of his accolades and achievements, I would say his most impressive one in recent history is his second place finish in the 2020 2v2 tournament. Um, he played alongside Fierce and only lost to Ninja and Naga. He got second place in the SFL Force League season, and then fourth place in the summer 2021 tournament. That was a 2v2 tournament. So with all that being said, those are the reasons why Manny is number 7 on my list. At number 6, I have Ferrari. And Ferrari is one of 2 players on my whole list that have never played PS2 a day in their lives. And personally, I think that's impressive in and of itself because he essentially arrived late to the Force game. Whereas, all the rest of the guys on my list have been playing, 10, 15, and now 20 plus years of this game. And he's still able to hold his own with the best of the best. Not only can he hold his own, but in my personal opinion, and I've told a bunch of people this, I think that Ferrari at his peak could be the best player that I have ever played against. There is only one other player on my list that I believe can compete with him at his peak, and that's my number 1. Not going to spoil who that is yet, but Ferrari, when he was at his best, it seemed like he could do absolutely no wrong when you were playing against him. He had almost a perfect defense. He could play aggressively, not so aggressively. He could play defensively, and he was just hard carrying literally every single scrim. Um, every single tournament match that he played against, leading up to, like, later stages in the tournament. He would carry. Uh, just a super solid overall player. The only reason why Ferrari isn't higher on my list is because of his performance in tournaments. So my top five players have all won at least one tournament since 2020. Ferrari, unfortunately, has not. So his notable placements are he got fourth place in the summer 2020 3v3 with Raul and Asil, and he got third place in the summer 2021 2v2 tournament, and then third place in the 2024 3v3 tournament. So yeah, unfortunately, never got to break into um, second or first place, and for that reason, I just can't justify putting him higher than that. Even though, like I said, he could very well be the best player I've ever played against at his peak. At number five, I want to put myself, Volt. I was really thinking about not putting myself in the list at all. But if I truly am thinking about who my top 10 players are of all time, I got to put myself at number five. Um, I think everybody knows that my villains are definitely my strong suit, especially my Vader. My Vader is incredibly oppressive, and for a long time, people just hated playing against me in general because of how much I just broke the character. And I think that if you look at a lot of like the more modern Vaders that still play, a lot of them really modeled their play style after what I did with the character, or at least I feel like. Maybe that's just my ego, but um, so yeah, on villains, I definitely have the ability at any time to just take over an entire game. On heroes, on the other hand, everybody knows my heroes are pretty hit or miss. I can either dominate a game or just completely troll and int. There's really no in between. Um, on heroes, I do more so prefer to play as a support. Like that's why me and Viking work together so well, because I can support his aggressive playstyle with my pusher. But regardless, I think I could be higher on the list if I had better heroes, but I don't. So that's why I'm at number five. In terms of what I've achieved, third place in the summer 2020 2v2 tournament, only losing to Naga and Ninja and Fierce and Manny, two incredibly great teams, especially at that time. In the summer 2020 3v3 tournament, that was the first tournament that I won alongside Small C and Viking. Second place in the summer 2021 2v2 tournament. Third place in the summer 2021 3v3 tournament. Second place in the one day November 2023 2v2 tournament. And then first place in the most recent 2024 will be one day 3v3 tournament alongside Max and Viking. So for those reasons, I'm going to put myself at number five, and let's go on to the next person. At number four, we have Huey. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. He's been around for forever. And to be honest with you, you could make an argument, in my opinion, for him being number three or number two as well. I did have a lot of trouble placing him, but on my personal list, he's number four. The joke with Huey is that everybody says the more people you pile on him, the better he gets. Put him in a 1v2, 1v3, 1v20 situation, and he's probably going to come out unscathed, and probably take a couple of you down with him as well. Uh, he is just a great survivor. He's always going to have an amazing KDA when you play with him, and he can do a lot of things. So he's one of the just a couple players on my list that I truly think that if you put him on a team, that he literally makes the entire team better. He's just an incredible saver, and he can hard carry a game. He can play support. He can kind of fill in whatever role you need him to do. Another thing about Huey is that he's one of those players that he's not necessarily always going to just straight up outskill you, but he's going to make sure that you make the first mistake, and he's going to capitalize on that mistake right away. So it can be very frustrating playing against him because you feel like you can't get through his defenses at all, and the moment you make a mistake, he's on top of you and you're dead. Um, so yeah, Huey's a great player. Always enjoy playing both with and against him. It's super fun. Um, in terms of what he's achieved, there's quite a bit. He got second place in the summer 2020 3v3 tournament. He got second place in the most recent 2024 OB1 day 3v3 tournament. And he also has three first place achievements on his record. So he got first place in the summer 2021 2v2, in the 2021 3v3 winter break tournament, and in the 2023 winter break 2v2 tournament. So three first place finishes. Just a great player overall, and always someone that you're much happier that he's on your team and not the other one. At number three, I got to put my good friend Viking. This is a really hard decision for me again. 2 through 4 on my list, I really feel like you could interchange them and I wouldn't argue with you at all. Um, all of them are great players, but if I'm thinking about where I'm going to put Viking, it's going to be at number three. So, Viking, first things first, he has arguably the most interesting and unique play style ever. Um, he's another one of those players where it's like if you play against him for a minute or two, you're going to know exactly who you're playing against if you were playing under an alias or something. Long considered to be, people would say, he's lucky. All he does is this random bullshit and he keeps on killing me. He has no skill. If you say any of that around me, I'm gonna tell you to fuck off. And not to sound like I'm glazing him like crazy here, but after playing with him for so long, the things that you call random, he's told me like 2 minutes in advance exactly what he's gonna do to you, and then he does it, and you die, and it's just crazy. But that's just the type of player he is. He's a gamer. He's an insane strategist, and what you think is crazy, he's got planned out in his head, oftentimes long ahead of time. So he knows exactly what he's doing every time he kills you. He's great on pushers. That's where he excels, in my opinion. He's pretty good on chokers too, but I would say his best character is Luke. I would say he has, out of all players on this list, he's probably the best Luke of all time. Um, just the things that he does on that character just make you want to just smash your keyboard in. In terms of his accolades, he's got several. So third place in the summer 2020 2v2, first place in the summer 2020 3v3, second place in the summer 2021 2v2, second place in the 2021 winter break 3v3, second place in the 2023 winter tourney, and then the first place in the most recent 2024 OB1 3v3 tournament. At number two, as much as it pains me to say it, I gotta put Ajax up there. He knows I'm kidding about that, but he is an amazing player in his own right. He is the perfect example of someone who can join the Force community super late in the game. We're talking 2020, so just 5 years ago, which is, he's essentially still a baby in our community, and can just become an amazing player just by putting a bunch of hard work, time, and effort into really learning how Force works. Obviously, he was an amazing no Force player beforehand, which definitely helped, but he's really taken Force and ran with it like no other NF player has been able to do. Ajax is an incredibly talented, mechanically sound player. Probably has the best mechanics out there out of anyone I've ever seen now. Um, he's just super quick. He's able to incorporate all the years of his NF knowledge over to Force. So good luck winning any close up duel with him at all. He his Vader is probably the best right now, I would say. Um, he's super oppressive on the character. I mean, it just seems like you can't make any mistake, even a long ways away from him, and he's going to come and capitalize on it, and you're going to be dead. He's just a super oppressive player to play against, and unlike me with my Vader, he's also got a good heroes. So he's incredibly good with Luke and Ayla, so he can carry a team with either of those characters. I would say his only downfall is that he's pretty much only going to be a solo carry kind of person. That's the role that he likes to play. At least that's what my perception of him is. So I don't think he does very well as playing more of a secondary role, or more of a support role. But if he's like your front runner and you got players to support him, he can be an absolute wrecking ball. Um, so yeah, got a lot of respect for him for, like I said, taking a bunch of time, getting good at the game, and now he's right up there with the best players who've been playing, many, many, many years. So some of his achievements since COVID: second place in the summer 3v3 tournament in 2020, third place in the summer 2021 2v2 tournament, first place in the winter break 2021 3v3 tournament, first place in the 2023 winter 2v2 tournament, and then third place in the 2024 OB1 3v3 tournament. So he also has the tournament accolades now to back it up. It's just really cool to see someone um, come from knowing nothing about the game to being one of the best now. So congrats, Ajax. At number one, I'm going to put Ninja. And if you don't have Ninja at your number one, I'm going to tell you you're just flat out wrong. And this is all going to sound like I'm glazing him super hard, but honestly, he deserves it. Um, there is no other player that you can point to that has consistently been, top three or at bare minimum top five through almost every single era of Star Wars Battlefront 2 history. He has always been a force to be reckoned with. I mean, he can come back after not playing for a year or two, and first game back, he's carrying the fucking game. Um, he can play any character he wants. Put him on a choker, he's going to carry. Put him on a pusher, he's also going to carry. He can play, more of a solo carry role, or he can play even as a support and just keep you alive the whole time. Again, Ninja is one of those players that you put him on your team, and it feels like instantly everyone else gets better. Um, He's also super clutch. He always does well in tournaments. When it comes down to the wire, there are few players that are as clutch as Ninja. So it's always pretty scary playing against him. I remember when Viking and I played against him in the first 2v2 tournament in summer 2020. Um, we went to overtime, and me and Viking were pretty confident that the tide had turned in our favor, and then Ninja just took over and just totally killed us in overtime. So, on the subject of tournaments, Ninja has placed in first every single tournament he's played in besides one. So his first place finishes are in the summer 2020 2v2, the summer 2021 2v2, and he got his team first place in the Star Wars for Force League. He also won MVPs in the summer 2020 2v2 and the summer 2021 2v2. So he's got two MVPs on his belt as well. And the only third place finish he's had is in the summer 2020 3v3, where he lost to myself, Viking, and Small C. One of the craziest parts about all this is that he's done all of this stuff on default controller. So he's playing pretty much on PS2 turn speed. Most people that play these days are playing with modded controller speed or on KBM. He's able to achieve this amount of skill literally with a handicap, for lack of better words. So that is my argument for Ninja being number one. So that's my list. And, if you're still listening to me after blabbering for close to 30 minutes, glad you hopefully enjoyed it. And, I would love to hear your thoughts, or if you want to start an argument in the comments or over Discord. I'd love to hear what your opinions are on who are the top 10 players in terms of overall, skill and accolades in your opinion. So, yeah, thanks for watching. And maybe I'll make another video. Maybe this will be my last video on this channel. I'm not sure yet.